guys, it's Gabby, and today I'm going to be doing a non-spoiler review of Stealing Snow by Danielle Paige, and this is the first book in Danielle's newest series that follows the Snow Queen on her path to self-discovery. I was lucky enough to get an ARC of this book at BEA, which means I was able to read the book before its release, and now I am finally able to discuss it with you guys because this book is in stores now, so you can go and pick up a copy if you are interested, and I will leave links down below where you can get a copy. But in order to decide about whether or not you want to do so, I have to get into the plot of the book first, so let's get into Stealing Snow. When we first meet Snow in this novel, she is a teenager that has been stuck into a mental institution at a very young age by her mother because of something peculiar that she did. And so Snow has grown up in this facility for most of her life and has pretty much just taken lots of medication in order to sedate her and has had limited knowledge or exposure of the outside world. So one day when one of our characters, Jagger, appears to Snow and tells her that she needs to stop taking the medication that this facility is giving her and she needs to escape the mental institution and run to this tree where the people of his kingdom will bow down to her because she is their rightful queen and she has to be the one that fulfills this prophecy and takes down their current ruling king, who is ruling as a tyrant and has made their kingdom winter forever. Obviously, when Snow finds this out, she's a little bit freaked out because that would be the last thing that you would expect to hear when you're in a mental institution. But when she gets the perfect chance to escape, when her soulmate, the one person that she truly loves and cares about, Bale, escapes, she goes after him and ends up at this tree where Jagger meets her, and this story basically follows Snow on her journey to self-discovery and finding out about her powers and her gift and sort of how she has to fulfill this prophecy and finding out that there's a lot more about herself that she doesn't know. And she has to find out all of this and go through all of her powers and figure out how to master them in order to fulfill this prophecy, all while looking for Bale, her loved one, and finding out that there's a lot more about her life that she doesn't actually know. I absolutely loved Stealing Snow, not so much for the plot, but for the improvement in Danielle's writing style. For me, that's a huge thing as a reader to see author improvement because I can read a book from an author that I absolutely love, but when there's no improvement, eventually after a while, it just starts to get boring and it doesn't feel like I'm actually getting anything out of reading the same book from the same author because it feels just like the same thing over and over and over again. So I love getting to see Danielle improve as an author and getting to just see the major growth within this book just in terms of structural wise. You get to know a lot more about your characters in terms of who you can trust, who not to trust, and who you're a little bit in between on. And also the setting and the plot is a lot more clear and you kind of get a good idea of where the story is going to be going, which for me was really great because it made me really pumped to get the second book because I could have my thoughts and my suspicions about where the storyline was going to go, and just felt like it was told really well and it was really concise and the plot flowed really well and there was a good transition between your downtime scenes and your action scenes, and it just felt like it was all really well written and really well put together. And if I'm saying that from just reading the ARC, then definitely I know that there's going to be a major improvement in the final copy, and I'm very excited to get to that and to be able to sort of see the slight changes that were made between the final copy and the ARC. And I think that even then there's going to show major improvement in Danielle's writing. If you have read her other books and haven't been as keen on them, or you do enjoy them, I definitely recommend picking up Stealing Snow because there really is going to be a major improvement in Danielle's writing style, and I think that anyone who has read her books before will really enjoy this new release. One of the things that I loved most about Stealing Snow was the characters. For me, character-driven novels are always something that I really love because you get to have a good taste of who is telling the story and whether you can like them or not and find out about their interests and their hobbies, and you can really relate to and connect to them, which I feel like makes the story flow really well. And there are so many likable characters throughout this story that you get to meet, and you get to really connect to them. You get a really good understanding of who they are and where their interests lie and where their priorities lie, and I cannot wait to see where the story goes in terms of the characters and their plot, and also sort of see where Snow goes in terms of her heart, because there's basically 3 different guys that she is competing with throughout this story. One being Bale, the other being Jagger, and then the third being another guy that you get to meet throughout the story that I'm not going to spoil for you guys, but it's really interesting to see sort of where her inhibitions lie in terms of who she loves, as well as her having to try to master her powers and figure out where she truly belongs, and then having to work with these 2 different groups of people that she meets along the way. and how they help her in different ways learn about her powers and control them, and where, you know, her priorities lie and where her decisions lie about whether or not she wants to fight for this prophecy or whether she wants to abandon it and just go home when she gets what she wants. And it's just interesting to see her and her thought process, because she is such an interesting character, and I feel like there's so much more behind her than you get from Amy in the Dorothy Must Die series, which is something I really like, because the more you get to know about your main character, the more you understand them, and the more that you're able to understand the plot and where the story is going, because you have a good idea of where your character's thought process is going, because you understand their background and their own interests and priorities and how that affects their decision-making process. So just seeing the overall growth in that area really, really made me enjoy this story. Definitely makes me recommend you guys to pick this book up, because I think that a lot of you are going to enjoy it, and I think that it's going to be a story that is going to be really fun in terms of the retelling aspect, because for me, I never really had heard anything about the Snow Queen. I really don't know so much about the legend at all, so I think it's going to be interesting to see how Danielle decides to take this retelling and morph it, because as for me, I really have no prior background knowledge, so it's hard for me to find connections between the original storyline and the new storyline that Danielle has created. But for you guys who have heard of the Snow Queen and have heard of her retellings and have heard about her and her story, then I would love to know if you guys think that Danielle's retelling does a good job at being consistent, because I know the Dorothy Must Die series is excellent with that, and that would be something that I would assume Danielle would carry over, and for the most part I could believe that she was doing so, but it'll be interesting to see, for those of you who have heard about the Snow Queen, if that is something that is actually consistent. So that is pretty much it for my non-spoiler review of Stealing Snow. I really don't have a lot of comments to make, because this is the first book in a series, so there isn't really a lot of information that I can get to in depth-wise, because we haven't really ventured majorly into our plot. We're just kind of starting to explore the very beginning and get a good understanding of our characters and our plot and where our story is going to be taking place, and understanding how that affects the characters and everything. So I think it's going to be interesting to see where the rest of the story goes, but I am so excited for book 2 to come out, although of course it is over a year away. I am just so happy for Danielle to see her improvement as an author and to be able to see hopefully the success of this book. But I really hope that you guys go and pick up a copy, because I think it's something that you guys are really going to enjoy if you're into retellings or if you've read Danielle's other books. But that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!